Now, two of the three that I'm talking about work for startups nearby. So they all work in the environments that we think millennials want to work in. So they're in the loft spaces, and everybody's open, and the beer's always flowing. Well, my son brought one of his team here one time, and he said, "Mom, can I have an off-site meeting in your space?" So it was interesting. Some of my colleagues said, "Well, why would this startup want to come here and work here? They're going to think we're a little too conservative." They came in here, they didn't want to leave. Good. And it goes back to when I want to be in a collaborative place where we can have a drink, it's there. When we need to go have some privacy, it's there. If we want to sit at a bench, it's there. And I think you talked about this, that the idea that one size fits all, it doesn't. The idea that maybe two sizes fit all, either put people in a closed space or put everybody else in the open, that doesn't work either. And so
that are interrelated, but also the technology that's interrelated. So I need times where I'm going to work alone and I'm going to use my fixed technology, or maybe I'm going to work as a group and have my fixed technology, or sometimes I need to have a space where I can work alone and I can carry my mobile device and do that, or as a team, of course, we're doing that. And sometimes we need all of those all together. And so this space that we're in is one that we call a Maker's Commons. And just like the Makers movement, it's all about experimentation and play. So we designed it to where you would have the technology to be able to play digitally. I mean, this thing is all about playing digitally. It's one of my favorite things to do. To just get people actively involved in creative work, because creative work is very active. You can do this digitally, you can do analog. If we didn't have food out there, we might have papers and notes and artifacts and different things that we're using in the creative process. And clearly this is not designed like your typical conference room, right? You don't have people sitting at a board table where you literally get bored sometimes. I just made that up, I thought it was funny. But you sit at those big board tables and people tend to sit and they don't get up and move. But this space was designed really to where, when we're co-creating, you're going to jump up here and the two of us are going to work on something together and pull everybody in. And it's a very different kind of process than what we typically think of in a traditional kind of conference room. So there'll be more of the kinds of spaces that we can walk you through and tell you about what happens when you do the me work. So this is more about we work, and we've got other spaces that are both me and we work. Studio, and the Focus Studio is all about individual work. I've got to get things done, and I've really got to be able to focus. So this kind of space is designed to kind of eliminate distractions. So we put it in the open plan because a lot of organizations like to have open plan spaces. You could easily envision this within an enclosed space. And then just some of the other little things you don't think about, like his storage is like right here. So if he can use this to kind of extend his work surface. So he might have his bag here where he can quickly pull out his stuff and be able to extend what he's working on when he's within this zone. But it's oriented away from people, so it's going to mitigate distractions a little bit. This space.
Sure, yeah. So when with the creative spaces and what Chris was drawing there, we know that people need respite or rejuvenation, and they need times where they just have to get away from everybody, and that sometimes where they might refer to it as privacy, but we found it's really more focus or lack of distraction.
Yeah.
And you can't always have 4 walls and a door and a roof. So this is something that we call roadie. and it's
called what?
Brody.
All right.
B-R-O-D-Y. Because it's good for your brain and good for your body.
Brody.
So I hope you don't find that too cute, but that's
And
why it
please
has its,
feel free to
its
take a
name.
seat
Yeah.
in it,
So
too.
the idea, I mean, patterned, well, actually, based on observation that we've had initially with students in schools. And we do a lot of ethnography and observation. And started to notice students who would do whatever they could to work around these big open environments where they couldn't focus, right? So you'd see them in bad leather chairs and they'd pull over another board or whatever they could find and start to build just a little bit of shelter for themselves. So that is what concepted this, and we've had a lot of people say it's a little bit like a pod if you've ever been fortunate enough to get bumped up and
First class.
get into business class or first class. But the idea is just that you can get away and you can have just a little bit of territorial privacy and just a little bit of an escape. So you could either work alone or even have a technology-free zone if you need to.
We actually call this, our designers call this an alert recline, because you're a little bit, like when you put your feet up, you're a little bit in a more relaxed posture than if you're, sitting at a desk. But you're not like lounged back to where, you're ready to snooze. So you can really kind of sit in a more relaxed position, do your work. The tray really fits the kickstand of the Surface Pro nicely, and then you can adjust this, you can adjust this to where I don't have to get text neck from hunching over my device anymore. I can bring it up to my eye level, which is really nice. So I do a lot of writing in this meeting. So we're
So this concept is one, again, based on the research we did, we found that a lot of teams that are involved in innovation or agile work, particularly in the technology field, there's a lot of working duos, right? There's a lot of pair programming that goes on. And so thinking about what you need to give them, either in a space like this or in something that has got walls or even more contained, the idea is how do you let two people who will be working together, say on a project with pair programming, have the ability to work on their own at really beautiful pieces of equipment that if you haven't played with them, you need to. Then you'll want them for home. And how could they either work individually? How could they collaborate? Obviously, with the furniture applications, we're paying attention to how they can have the different height adjustments that they need.
Yeah.
But how could they very quickly also turn and do something different in here? So whether it's presenting things to each other or it's bringing other people in to see the work that they've been doing, you can, in a fairly small space, have those different zones or micro zones. So that this is designed to be, as Chris was saying before, much more collaborative, where everybody has room to come up here and work. And it's a different type of posture that we would take in here, whether they want that more casual kind of environment, or they're bringing other people in to just sit and watch them. So the idea is they can quickly go back and forth and have the benefit of all of these within this one room.
from an engineering perspective, but all the notes that they're taking now, that's going to be captured. So this is in the cloud, and the whole idea is that your ideas travel with you when you're in a creative process. So you're going through that very fluid process. You don't want to take time to take pictures of a whiteboard. So now whatever they're working on, they're just going to be able to send that to the rest of the team, or they can send it back to the devices where they're working in the other part of the room.
Yes, and they can see the design in real time.
Are they the avatars that we're seeing?
They're the avatars. We didn't get their beautiful pictures for today, but the idea is we would use those avatars to represent their HoloLenses and where they are looking on that same design over at their studio. So you guys can't see it, but what we've done is we've cast it for you today so that you can see exactly what Riley's seeing. And we could collaborate on this. We could collaborate on this as a team and iterate a lot faster on that 3D design in real time. Or we can bring in people that might not be here instead of having to fly them out, instead of having to wait and send files back and forth, instead of having to print and go design 3D models, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, you can go do these iterations at speed. And so the idea is you can also make annotations along the way. So you could add in voice notes, you can save that file, then bring that back to your 2D discussion in Microsoft Teams. Party trick. It doesn't work great in this room because the idea is this is a pretty big house. It's not my house. But say you're working on that and now you want to go do a room by room walkthrough of a house you've never built. And so I'm going to get Riley to go, and she's going to go into full scale. And the idea is she's now inside of that house.
Whoa.
And so if you had a bigger space, say a warehouse, you could take this there. You could do it here too. and you can go walk around that space and see all of those changes and things that you've done, having a virtual walkthrough of a home you've never even built yet.